I've only been doing the singer-songwriter thing for like 10 years now. So I was well into my 30s where I started doing all this. And before that, I was just a sideman. I just played bass all over town, So I grew up playing the shell and all that back there as a little bass man in the shadows.
Welcome to the Shellcast, a show about music, culture, and Memphis.
As we live into our mission of building community through music,
education,
and diversity,
we look forward to interviewing artists and musicians and hearing about how they are writing their own stories,
building their own communities.
85 years strong, and with a rich history, the Shell has stood the test of time as a beacon of hope in the heart of Memphis.
This podcast is brought to you by Orion Federal Credit Union, where a big part of us is being a big part of the community. Visit orionfcu.com to see how Orion is redefining banking. Hello and welcome again to Shellcast. Mark Edgar Stuart is one of those guys you want to see in concert over and over and over. So much talent, so much personality. He started in school playing classical music. He became one of the most in-demand sidemen in all of Memphis, a position he still holds, by the way. And once he decided to be a frontman and a songwriter, he became so good at it, he draws favorable comparisons to people like Bob Dylan and John Prine, and justifiably so. We are delighted to be able to welcome Mark Edgar Stuart to Shellcast. Mark, thanks for taking the time today.
Man, thanks for having me, man. This is fun. I got a good feeling already.
I love that. It's always a good feeling when you're on stage at the Shell. I know that.
And it's always a good feeling when the technology works right off the bat. So here we go. We're on.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I guess the biggest news right now is the brand new album, Until We Meet Again. Are you happy with the record now that you've had to live with it for a while?
Yeah, I'm happy with it. I recorded it back in May, I believe. Of course, the wheels take a while to get things going, but it's going to come out or it's out, and I'm really happy with it. It's a little bit different for me. It's something that I probably should have chased a long time ago, but I think we sort of captured it on this record. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
You've got a really, really interesting catchline that I read about the album. You're describing it as a quasi-concept album about love, life, and afterlife.
Yeah, pretty much. I just figure after the past 2 years we've had in this crazy, crazy world, no one wanted to hear anything too heavy and deep from me. So I just kind of kept things light, and everything's just about love and family and, and afterlife and dying and heaven and all kinds of cool stuff, So just right. Keep it. I'm not saying death is not heavy, but just keeping everything kind of lighthearted and, no soapboxes this time.
Was it more difficult to make the record because of all the pandemic stuff and this and that and the other?
Kinda, of course the whole, the COVID thing and the masking thing and all that makes things a little difficult, getting people together in a room and, making sure everybody's comfortable. Because everybody has different comfort levels with this kind of stuff, which,
sure.
I respect all that 100%, and so that can kind of make things a little tricky sometimes, but we seem to work it all out and had a great session and think we had a pretty safe session too. So yeah.
Always good. Did your creative process get altered because of the pandemic and everything? Did you approach writing the album in a different way this time?
I think so. Like I said, I just started writing lots of songs, and I was just sort of, when I first started writing, it was kind of topical kind of stuff that was kind of relating to what was going on with us in the world, and it just seemed like everybody was doing that. And I just decided I don't want to do that. And I just stopped writing about what was around me. And I just sort of tried to just really focus on good things, and what I do love about life and music and friends. And yeah, I guess I kind of wrote about what I wanted my life to be at the time,
I think that's a wonderful thing.
So it was kind of dreaming in a way, even though we were in some pretty dark places back then. I was just kind of writing about, what's hopefully going to be on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, the first step to making something a reality is dreaming about it. So
absolutely, and that's kind of where all these songs came from, and yeah, all these tunes were written within probably the same month or two. Like I just kind of.
Oh, really?
Yes, I wrote about 20 songs really, really quick, and I'm not patting myself on the shoulder when you hear them. These songs are pretty simple. It doesn't take that long to write these songs, but they were just there, and they just came out really fast, and I've never actually gone into making a record with just a brand new batch of songs before. Like, I've yet to even play these songs live. It's just, this is what I wrote and went to the studio a month later, and this is what came out. So.
Well, you always surround yourself with really good people in the studio. I'm guessing this was the same this time.
Yeah, absolutely. It was produced by Reba Russell and Dawn Hopkins,
Wow.
which is something kind of new for me. I've been produced in the past with Jeff Powell, which those
Right.
first two records, which I love Jeff, and maybe one day we can work together again. But Reba kind of had a different idea. It was kind of her little brainchild, sort of. Like, she kind of pitched it to the label owner of Mad Jack, of Ronnie Russell.
Right.
And then just, we were off. I really hadn't planned on making a record so soon. I made one about 3 years ago, and I thought I was going to sit on my hands for a couple more years. But this opportunity came up to work with Reba, and the wheels just moved really quick. So boom, here we are. We're making a record. We did it, and she really kind of brought out different things in me that no one's ever tried before. Just really made this record around my voice and my singing, which no one's ever really tried to push me as a singer or as a vocalist. So that was kind of new for me.
Well, she's such a phenomenal artist on her own as well. So
absolutely, in the past you make a record, and I played most of the instruments on my first two records, and you get all into the music and all that, and then it's almost like your vocal's sort of the last thing, and I know it's probably not the best way to do it, but it's kind of the way I've done it in the past, let me just lay down the vocals now. But this record was just the opposite. It was all about the vocals first. It was about the performance, does it move you? Is there a feeling to it? And if the music wasn't perfect, but the vocal was perfect, then that was always the take. So
wow.
that's kind of how Reba and Dawn produce. Yep. So,
well, they've been working together for a long, long time too. So
they have, and I think their biggest contribution as producers was just songs. Like I gave them like 25 songs to choose from, and they kind of just chose these 10 songs, and I think that's kind of why there is a theme there, and I really think it was because it was sort of just having a female perspective on all this. I think that's just really, really valuable. They picked songs I probably wouldn't have thought of, but now that we recorded them, I'm so glad we did them. Like they kind of took it from a different angle, and hopefully it worked. I think it did.
That's a good way to work, though. When you work with different people and get a different perspective on your own work, that's a great way to keep moving forward.
Absolutely, I totally had a different perspective, and Ebe, with me, it was a cool record to make. We made it really fast, but I think that's a good thing. We just kind of did it in pretty much a weekend and mixed it a few months later, and boom, here we are. So hopefully people will kind of hear that.
What's going to happen to the songs you didn't use for this record? Will they find their way to another record?
Oh yeah, they'll probably make a record one day when I'm ready to go back to writing records about sad things and super personal things and all that. I'm sure they'll make a record one day. Oh, and that's my dog Joe Dog right there. Live television, everybody.
Well, at least he gets a say, and that's perfect.
Yep.
Do you have any plans to tour to support the record?
Yeah, I've got a few gigs booked around. Gigging's still a whole weird little thing with all this COVID.
It is.
So things are opening back up, but then you got 5,000 people trying to book the same 40 venues.
Right.
Hold on one second. Okay, yeah, just close that door right there. Again, live television, everybody. But so yeah, I've got about 5 or 6 gigs booked out on the road, next month about release time, and try to make that coincide with a bit of press and just kind of play the game a little bit. But don't have as many gigs as I would like, but it's definitely it's a little trickier now.
Yeah, it really is. It's just tricky on the overall being a musician at this point in time, because everything that you've done up until this point in time is changed. It's different.
It's way different. I mean, yeah. I mean, even here locally on the scene locally, it's a different animal than it was 2 years ago. Like it's yeah, and hopefully a lot of it's for good, for the good of it. But yeah, there's just it's a little different.
Working at the Shell, it's with the pandemic and everything, having a chance to really reconsider things and think about what means a lot. I've really seen how much music and entertainment means to people in their lives.
Yeah, no, I believe it. I think it's something that we need. I don't think that folks knew they needed it until they didn't have it. So now that it's coming back, I hope it's just going to come back bigger and better than ever. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, indeed. You get compared to a lot of really, really incredible people. I've seen comparisons to John Prine, Randy Newman, Steve Goodman, even Bob Dylan. Are people like that heroes of yours in the music industry?
Yeah. I mean, of course, I grew up listening to all those guys,
Right.
and I'm not a pimple on their butt, though. That's some pretty.
Yes.
I don't know what the word I'm looking for, but that's a. Whoever said that, thank you. But no. I grew up listening to all that stuff, especially John Prine. John Prine was one of my all time favorites, and I even got to meet him one time, and it was
Oh,
just
nice.
one of the highlights of my life. Yeah. And I was really bummed out when I lost him.
Yeah.
There's always those celebrities you lose where it just feels personal, like you really lost a friend, and John Prine was definitely one of them.
I understand that completely. I always feel like when we lose one, it is losing a friend that maybe I didn't meet, but still very
Yeah,
much a friend.
you never met these guys, you don't know them, but you feel like you do know them, and you shed a tear over it, and you're just sad. Yeah, you mourn
Exactly.
them. And I remember I had that feeling when Levon Helm died.
Oh, yeah.
I had that feeling when Eddie Van Halen died, and I had that feeling when John Prine died. Those three times just tore me up.
Want to learn more about how you can support the Overton Park Shell and its mission of building community through music, education, and diversity? Head to overtonparkshell.org. You can read up on our 86-year history and check out our schedule of events, visit our shell shop to grab all the swag, and find out ways that you can participate in our mission. Whether that's through donations, volunteering, sponsoring a concert, or becoming a member of the Shell Circle. Once again, that's overtonparkshell.org.
Who are some of the other musical influences in your life?
A lot of them, I guess. To be honest, some of my biggest musical influencers are just locals, people I've played with. Like I've only been doing the singer-songwriter thing for like 10 years now, so I was well into my 30s where I started doing all this. And before that, I was just a side man. I just played bass all over town. So I grew up playing the shell and all that back there as a little bass man in the shadows. And so I think I've just been influenced by everybody that I've, had the privilege of playing behind, So I got my start. I played with all kinds of people, but I played with Alvin Youngblood Hart for a couple of years and
Oh, nice.
played with John Paul Keith for a whole bunch of years and played on those first couple of records. And guys like that were a really big influence, just kind of seeing, how these songwriters do their thing, Corey Brandon, I played with him for a while and then played on a couple of those records. And that was really kind of like a lesson in songwriting too. Jet Zimmerman, Jimmy Davis, Keith Sykes, all these guys, like big influences on me as a songwriter. So I'm gonna give hats off to my local people, especially guys like Keith and Jimmy.
It's a lot of Memphis royalty there too.
Yeah, but we're blessed. We're full of it here, And
We are indeed. What caused you to want to go out on your own as opposed to just being a sideman anymore?
About 2012, I guess you could say I kind of had some life experiences, and all of a sudden I had something to say, and I don't think I ever had anything to say beforehand. So about 2011, I got sick. I got cancer, and I went through that for like 6 months. And when you get told you have cancer, and you're just a young man, it really kind of changes something in your brain, and.
Sure.
And even though, I knew that I was going to get through it, I was young and strong and I got through it. And, my hair is a little more curly now, a little more gray now because of it. I had a lot of free time and I wanted to write songs. I always envied those guys I played with. And but I don't think I ever had anything to say until then. And then a few months after all that, I lost my dad. And that was a big influence, and then all of a sudden I just sort of made this record for him, and that was Blues for Lou. And that was my first record that came out. And I got lucky, man. The local music community really embraced it. And I made all the top of the list and all that kind of stuff. And people were really kind to me. I got really lucky on that one.
So writing the first song, what was that like?
Finding my voice. I've never even really tried to sing before. Even when I was a sideman, I was a terrible backup singer. I could never remember words. I couldn't sing and play bass at the same time. And I just had to find my voice, And I think the first thing I did was just sit around and find my voice. I would just sit around my house and just sing into my recorder, into my phone memos and try to find like my voice. And when I realized I had a little pocket I could do, there wasn't many songs to choose from that I could sing. So then I figured I just need to start writing my own. So I kind of started writing songs, kind of based around how I could sing them and and the content was what was going on at the time, which was the stuff I just mentioned.
Sure. So now that you've got, I guess, Until We Meet Again is your fourth album, you got 4 under your belt. How much different is your creative process now from when you started?
Oh, it's way different. Well, I guess in the beginning I was just so green. I was so new at it. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. Like that first album was just this is the first songs I'd ever written. And
Mhm.
and I listened to that first album, and on one hand I'm like, yikes, man, I'm so green. But on the other hand, it's really kind of cool. It's unique. It just sounds like me. And it's something that used to bug me for a few years, listening back on that first one. But now I listen to it and I absolutely love it. It just took about 10 years to really embrace that for what it was. And I'm
Mhm.
real proud of that first record and the second record. But yeah, I was just really figuring things out then. And not that I haven't figured out now,
Well,
but
I think you should be. I think Blues for Lou is one of the most honest records I've ever heard.
yeah, I'm really proud of that one, but yeah, it's, now I feel like I'm kind of know what I'm doing, but I still probably don't 100% know what the heck I'm doing.
Was there an aha moment in your life when it's like, I can be a musician?
Yes. So I'm from Palm Bluff, Arkansas. So I started
Mhm.
playing music. I was a symphony geek, so I played upright bass in the symphony, playing Bach and Mozart and all that kind of
Wow.
stuff. And I was, then I was in the youth symphony and the Arkansas Symphony and all that. I even got to play Bill Clinton's inauguration once, which was kind of wild. But
Wow.
but my dad was always into everything, all the Sun stuff. He was into rockabilly. He was into Johnny Cash and Carl Perkins and all that. And I just kind of remember kind of seeing those old pictures and seeing that upright bass and kind of making that connection, going, "Oh man, that's what I play." And it's cool when it's rock and roll. It's not quite as dorky because I was used to
Mhm.
playing rock and stuff, and I actually kind of hated it a little bit. When you're a kid, you sort of it's just an activity in school. But I remember I really started. That was about the time I kind of thought maybe I could do this, and then I came to Memphis the first time when I was 15. I had my first recording session at Sun Studio with Wayne Jackson of the Memphis Horns.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, and that was kind of a random deal. I played in a little band with his nephew Brian, and one Christmas, Brian's like, "Hey, my uncle says we can come to Memphis and record for my birthday." So I kind of got to tag along, and that was a big moment for me. There I was at Sun. I was like, "Wow, I knew all about that place,"
Sure.
and there I was, then I was slowly starting to figure out that Wayne was kind of a big deal. And then we did a few of those recording sessions. We did one the following year, and Dawn Hopkins was the engineer. I think she was just fresh out of recording school.
No kidding. Wow.
So you talk about like life full circles, and
Uh-huh.
that was definitely in my brain when all this came about a year ago for this new record. It's like, yeah, I would love to work with Dawn because she's kind of where I got started 30 years ago, and we just sort of lost touch. So full circle, here we are. So there's a lot of full circle moments on this new record. But it's about that time when I knew I wanted to play music. Then I moved to Memphis and on the scholarship playing the upright bass, and then I got the rock and roll bug and joined a band called the Politics, and we were like the little local heroes for a while. And
Mhm.
I remember our first gig was at Alex's, and
Nice.
that was like '95, and I remember then going, "Man, I like this. I want to do this." Sounds kind of pathetic. I was like, "Oh, I'm at Alex's. I just found what I want to do in life." But I remember just sort of liking. I don't know. I like playing music in front of people who are drinking beer and enjoy what I was doing, and that's kind of when the addiction started.
That definitely shows. Haven't seen you on stage at the Shell several times now. It's you always look like you're having a lot of fun on stage.
You got to have fun, and I always have fun when I play. I get terribly nervous. I mean, I really get crazy nervous and anxiety ridden leading up to it, but the payoff is always the gig, and then that night after the show there's nothing better than just that feeling you have after a great show, and that's the drug of it. That's why we keep doing it.
You've gotten to work with so many amazing, talented people in your life. Do you have some dream people you'd still like to work with going forward?
Yeah. Oh, there's always dream people I'd love to work with. Oh Lord, you're gonna put me on the spot here, but I've gotten to work with quite a few, but I would love to maybe work with some of my old heroes who are still living. I don't know if that's even possible anymore, but I always have this dream of Jerry Lee Lewis decided to cut a record in Memphis, and he needs a bass player. I always have this dream that I'll get that call one day,
Sure.
And that guy's 86 now, so I don't know if that dream's ever going to happen. But yeah, I think about that stuff all the time. Like my old heroes who are still kicking. Like Jerry Lee, or of course we lost John Prine. That was a dream too. And a lot of guys like that. Tony Joe White, that was a big deal for me. He's like, I want to play with Tony Joe White one day. And
Right.
I got to open for him once, but I never got to play with him.
Can you ever see yourself on the other side of the board? Do you want to get into producing and technical work someday?
Yeah, that's kind of what I've been doing now. So I'm sort of been making a slight little transition. I just produced a record on Jed Zimmerman. He's a Texas singer-songwriter, and just a really great record we did here in Memphis with the A-list of players. And then I just finished producing a record on a young female singer-songwriter you might know called Bailey Biggert.
Yeah.
And she's starting to make some waves, So I produced that record down at Zebra Ranch, Jim Dickinson's old place in Coldwater, Mississippi. And her record's, it's going to be out really soon. And I produced that one and loved it and got to co-write some. And working with young artists is, I don't know, I've really, really enjoyed doing that. I want to do it some more. And I think that might be where I'm headed, to be honest. Always going to play music, but man, I just love being behind the scenes and seeing these people when they're 20 or 22 and helping them, and then they blow up, and it's fun to watch. I love playing a small role in their own little careers and stuff. I think there's a big reward in that.
I think that's one of the most wonderful things that you could possibly say. That's how the music continues to grow and live on.
Yep, absolutely. So
that's the whole future. So
hopefully there'll be more. There's always going to be somebody coming up that's just awesome, and hopefully I'll get lucky.
Absolutely. And if you close your ears off to the great new music that's being made by young people, you're just cheating yourself.
Absolutely. That's what I tell folks, Folks are like, I don't listen to music anymore. It's all terrible. I don't listen to radio. It's like, well, you're stupid,
Yeah.
I don't listen to radio either. There's a million other songs, online and other places. And, it's not just about the radio anymore.
Exactly. What's the immediate future hold for you? Touring, more recording, more writing? What's next?
I'm always going to write, but I want to produce more records. That's kind of what I like doing now, and I still stay really busy as a sideman. I work at Bible and Tire, which is Bruce Watson's gospel record label here in Memphis. And I've probably done like 25 records over there the past couple of years, and I really enjoy doing the whole gospel thing. We did a big show at the Crosstown Theater a few months back with Elizabeth King, and I play bass and that stuff, and I really enjoy doing that. So I'm gonna keep on doing that. It makes my heart feel good. And I'm gonna keep playing my own gigs, but I really want to kind of keep on producing, and I got a few other people I've kind of got my eye on, and if they are willing to, work with me, maybe I can get lucky again and produce another record.
I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah. So it's all full circle, man. Everything's a full circle.
It is.
Yep.
It is. Really appreciate your time today, Mark. Thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you so much, man. And anytime. Reach out anytime. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
I promise you I will. And here's hoping we see you at the show real soon.
You will. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
He is so much fun to talk to. Serious thanks to Mark Edgar Stuart for spending some time with us today on Shellcast. If you'd like to keep up to date with what Mark is doing tour-wise, recording-wise, go to markedgarstuart.com. If you'd like to keep up to date with what's happening at the Shell, we're at overtonparkshell.org. All our shows, our fitness series, all the goings-on. If you want to volunteer and help out with a little bit of a donation, we'd appreciate that as well. Thanks for taking some time with us today. We'll see you again soon on Shellcast.